guys, I'm Lena Winner, and today I will be making a very interesting and very informative video because it is going to be all about the language learning methods you can use. I've talked a lot about the different methods you can use in language learning and how obviously it affects your process because sometimes you might use ineffective study methods, which I was talking about in my last video. And throughout this whole process of me making these videos, I've always said that there's so many methods that are obviously individual to a person. And if you mistakenly not use the right method, then your whole process is basically, not as effective as it would be if you catered your experience, personalized it, I guess, to yourself. So today we will be exploring the language learning methods that you can use. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. The first point that I want to cover is traditional classroom learning, which we call sort of like a replica of what you might have done in school. So as we know, in school you go and there's a class and you obviously learn something. There's a group of people usually, and why I wanted to put it in the first place is because it has been effective for such a long time. A lot of schools in different, countries and different cities offer sort of like the same experience where you can go to classes and there's a group of people ranging from, young adults to adults who want to learn a language as well. It all depends, and obviously you have to research this based on where you live. And these classes offer sort of like a similar experience to actual school or university. And so in traditional classroom learning, whether it be, one-on-one classes or classes with a group, you have a teacher who is obviously skilled at what they do, explain topics to you in a style that's more complex than what you might have been doing in elementary school, middle school, high school, and methods that are catered to you, whether it be a group or one-on-one class. They really cater the experience to each individual student, vaguely or very in depth. It really ranges. So why this method has been really I guess widely known and widely used is because it's effective. It's because there's always someone who's sort of like kind of driving you to do it. That's like the motivational aspect. There's always a person explaining something to you, because when you're learning by yourself, which is also a method that I will be talking about in a second, you learn it all by, I guess, your own research. And if you might not understand something, you gotta go search it on the internet, or if you have an online tutor, again, it's like a completely different thing. When you have physically a teacher in front of you, if you don't understand something, whether it be when you're reading a paragraph, when you're doing an exercise, there's always a person that can come and help you, that can come and explain to you whatever you are struggling with. So that's like the best, I guess, part of the process, is because there's always a person that will help you understand and comprehend whatever you're struggling with, or if you're not struggling, just help you comprehend the whole thing. And so obviously the process becomes much easier. So there's always going to be a skilled person next to you that will explain to you. So the next point that I will be talking about is self-studying with textbooks. So obviously when you go to any big bookstore or whatever that sells textbooks as well, you'll find a section that will be sort of dedicated to language learning. What that includes usually is workbooks, textbooks, and so this little bundle is what will help you in your self-learning journey. So many people will choose to self-learn. There's a bunch of different reasons why a person, might not choose this path but choose this one. And again, as I said, like, everyone is different and everyone has a different method that will fit them. So these textbooks cover a lot of different topics, grammar topics. So these books usually have like a bundle, and they range from A1 to C2. And so you'll get most out of, the grammar. The thing that you won't get out of it is you won't get practice. If you do speaking practices with yourself, if you do different practical sort of exercises with yourself, then obviously you get that in there too. It's obviously not going to be in the book. So that's something that you have to add on with yourself. And another thing that we obviously see that is a big, has a big presence in the first point that I talked about, that doesn't have a big presence in the second one, is that nobody's there to correct you, and it's all going to be like right, and then, oh my god, did I make a mistake? Look at the back or whatever you're doing and correct your mistake yourself, and then learn through that. So there's nobody, there's not like a physical presence that will go and say this is wrong and explain the topic to you if you didn't get it. So the next one is online courses. I've seen people around me get online courses. It's something that you purchase like one time usually. There's also like annual, monthly ones, but there are language courses that you buy just one time, and that's like your little course. You access it through whatever, email, website, and there is a wide range of things that you can get from those online courses. There's usually teachers or one single teacher who has either videos that you have access to, obviously documents and everything you have access to, or it's like actual classes that you will also have access to. It really is a hit or miss. It's not something that you can, you just buy the perfume, you don't smell it beforehand. So that's kind of like something like that. At the same time, if you're busy, it's like, it's a course, it's always going to be there. So, if you don't have time to do it today, then you'll do it tomorrow. Honestly, in my opinion, it's easy to forget about. I feel like it's not something that's like always in there as like a class would be, or even like language learning apps, which I'll be talking about in a second. Like they have a lot of ways that you can remember them, and just like something that's very consistent. It is a good way to sort of, especially because sometimes those courses also offer textbooks, like actual PDFs of textbooks. And so it's like a whole bundle of things. So it really is a useful thing if you want to get everything at once. So this is a great one if you're like a busy person, But again, there's no like strict consistency with it, which I guess not in a lot of methods you will have a lot of consistency. It really depends on the person, but it's a really good one for busy people. Okay, so now to one of my personal favorites. One I've used in each of my languages that I've learned. A method with which I have honestly mastered all of the languages that I proficiently speak at the moment. It is immersive learning. So the thing with immersive learning, I feel like I can talk about it for hours and hours and hours on end because it is so good. It is honestly something that's helped me. I remember just being a little bit younger, and that the only thing that can help me in actually mastering the language being immersive learning, it is watching movies in that language. It is culturally sort of being immersed in that language, hence the name. It is listening to music in that language. It is reading books in that language. And this is like one of the methods that really can fit any person, I feel like. And why I feel like we're so easy to comprehend exactly this method is because it's the most, I guess, closest to the time when we're just learning to talk. Because the way we learn to speak is most of the time through our family, through our surroundings. We are born, we do not have the ability to speak, obviously, but through our surroundings, through our family might be speaking, and we hear it, and that's how we learn. I guess you absorb that language and that pattern, that that pronunciation, everything in your brain, and that's how you learn as well. It's the same thing with language learning when you're an adult. It's because you hear it so much, that's why you absorb it. And so, I'll be listening to a song in a language that I'm just learning, and I don't know this word, I don't know whatever they're saying, but I listen to it so many times that after a while, through context, through translation, like there's no fault in going and translating the word, there's actually that's the thing you should do. So through those methods, I learn the meaning of the word, I learn the meaning of the sentence, I learn the meaning of the song. Even in books, you will say, but I don't know the language, how will I read the book? Which is what most people say. They're like, I don't know the language. How are you supposed to, make me read the book? Because it's impossible, right? Well, it actually is not. You just start by obviously reading it out loud. You hear the speech pattern, and then obviously you'll go translate it. And obviously through context, you'll learn it. Again, like there's so many ways you can learn a language through immersive learning. And it honestly helped me change my mindset about the whole process. And what I have to just mention is it's so fun. It is honestly so fun. Like, I know a lot of you don't like textbooks. A lot of you don't like going and, you know, even tutors like, yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun speaking with a native and whatever. But then it's actually like a chore. You have to go and, you know, whatever you're doing, just go into the class, you know, learn. It's still learning. But with immersive learning, it's different. It's fun. You're learning new information through books or movies. You're enjoying when you're doing something, and at the same time you're learning, which, I mean, this is like the perfect, I guess, combination, right? You're learning and you're having fun. Okay, so my next point that I want to talk about is flashcards. There are digital ways you can use them as well. There's an app called Quizlet that I am just a big fan of. It's basically term definition, and it is, I guess, I want to say boring, but not in the traditional way. I just want to say it's very repetitive, and it does take time. Obviously, you gotta sit and then you just, you know, learn. You flip, you learn. It usually is obviously done to in vocabulary. It's a very great way to learn vocabulary. I feel like it's not usually like something that's done like grammar, because I feel like grammar is more flexible in a way that you can, I guess, like hear it somewhere and then apply the same rule to like multiple verbs, adjectives, whatever. But in vocabulary, it's more straightforward. You can absorb it, as I said, in immersive learning. You can watch movies, listen to music, again, read books. You can absorb it. But if you want to go the traditional path, I want to say, then you can go and use flashcards digitally or physically, which obviously it's depending on, you know, what you deem more useful, what you feel like is more effective for you. So that's that. So I love this one. It's something that I've also applied in my language learning. In all the language that I speak fluently, I do have experience in language learning apps, which is my next point. I tried a lot of language learning apps. You know, there's been situations where I started with one and then I didn't like it and then I continued with another one. I have experience, so hear it from me. It's a great way. It's an amazing way. There's free ones. There's one that you know, have to pay for. There's ones that are more like a game. There's ones that are more, you know, strict and professional. So it all just depends, honestly. You know, if you ask my personal opinion, I really like Duolingo. It's a very, like, I feel like just a very simple answer because everybody now uses Duolingo. But I mean, it's popular for a reason. That's what I like to say. Like, if something is cliche, if a phrase is cliche, then it's cliche for a reason. And this one is popular for a reason, and we have to acknowledge that. We don't just, you know, it really is popular for a reason. First of all, it's sort of like gamified learning. Second of all, it honestly ranges. Like, you can use it as an adult, you can use it as a child. It is so diverse. If you want a more like strict and professional one, I am recommending Busuu. That's a very great one, and that's also like a bit different from Duolingo, but equally as effective. So also, I just want to say this in the middle of the video, not at the end, because I feel like it's just really important and something that should be mentioned. There's nothing stopping you ever from doing two things at once. I actually encourage it. Obviously, different ones might work for you, but if you just stick to one, first of all, you're limiting your options. Second of all, there's always more to see out there. So just try and then find the right combination of methods for you and continue on in that process, and I'm sure you'll find success. So okay, so my next point is storytelling and narration. This point focuses more on the way the language is being used in everyday life, and just basically in context. You learn the language through storytelling, you know, whether the storytelling being done to you or you doing the storytelling. It is just basically, again, like practice, which is very important, as I said before. You practice the language as it is being spoken, as the natives do, you know, every day. That really helps absorbing the language and speaking it faster on a daily language level. You can find websites to help you with that, with the storytelling, and obviously you doing the storytelling. There's a lot of websites that will offer texts to, you know, help you practice reading and so on. The next point I will be talking about is TPR, which is total physical response. I'm sure you've heard of this because it is a strictly language learning method. It sort of, I guess, again, like mimics the way infants learn their language, the first language. And it is done by associating a word. This is done usually in vocabulary learning. How they learn a word and then associating that word with an action, or like as I said, like a total physical response with a physical action. It's a big part of language learning in school. A lot of teachers incorporate this in school, especially because it's much easier for students to learn it. But you can also use it in your language learning process, and I feel like it will help tons, especially with vocabulary learning, because we all know that a lot of people struggle with this. So that was all that I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to mention some of the methods that you can use in your language learning, and I really hope it helped. My social media is linked down below, as well as my Instagram, so you can check that out as well. Thank you so much for watching, and bye!